Welcome back to Adventures with Bam. I'm Brent Billings.
And I'm Maggie Billings.
And this episode has us considering our own childhood Halloween traditions, as well as what we're establishing for our kids.
Yeah, I feel like you just found out an hour ago that you didn't really have very many.
Well, yeah, I guess. Just found out.
Well, yeah, kind of. I was like, we should talk about what we did as kids. And you're like, I don't know. I don't know what I did as a kid. You had to ask your sister.
I knew we didn't do anything.
Oh.
Like, we weren't allowed to do Halloween, basically, because it was of the devil or something.
The devil. That is, yeah. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people in that camp. And I'm not here to tell anyone that they're wrong. Everyone, you know what? Everyone has their own convictions, and I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I have like, oh, well, now that I'm grown up, I celebrate hard. Like, I don't care about Halloween. Don't find it interesting or whatever. I do feel like I maybe remember going to like a neighbor's house, like the houses that are like one or two doors down in either direction, and getting candy, maybe. But I don't know. That might have just been some other random time and not actually Halloween. I'm not sure.
Candy, as it turns out, is often available year-round.
Yeah. One time, my friend Tatiana, whose birthday is the 13th of October, we left her house and started wandering around the neighborhood and knocking on people's doors and saying trick or treat and saying it was backwards day. But only the 13 was backwards. Nothing else was backwards, but just the 13. So it was October 31st. And we got all kinds of stuff. People were like, let me go see what I have. And like a whole package of Oreos, for example.
Okay. You could have played this like, what's that game? Bigger and Better?
Yeah.
That was a great game.
Yeah.
I haven't thought about that game in years, but shoot.
That was maybe my best Halloween experience.
Wow.
That would have been in
which was not even on
high
Halloween.
school, I guess.
It was a Halloween adjacent.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Does it change? I wonder for people who are or grew up in families where, you know, it was not celebrated for these religious reasons. Are you allowed to do those things on a different day? Like if it's not.
I don't think we dressed up for Tatiana's birthday party.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Maybe we did. I don't know. But my sister says that we went to harvest festivals at our school/church. And I don't really remember that. I remember some sort of event happening there in middle school for sure. I don't remember if it was a harvest party or what it was.
Were those on Halloween?
I'm sure it was. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Did people dress up? Do you remember?
I don't know. People definitely dressed up at the harvest parties at my church in Idaho when I was in like late high school and college.
Sure. Yeah.
And I remember some of those, but nothing really before that.
So not a whole lot for you, Halloween growing up.
Nothing.
Well, yeah, I would say pretty much the opposite for my family. I mean, we weren't huge into it. I feel like we definitely did Halloween and we definitely had traditions. But I think perhaps not as commercialized maybe as I think a lot of people do. We, like for our example, I feel like probably every year our costumes were just homemade. You just kind of thought a little bit ahead of time, often last minute, like, what do I want to dress up as? And you just found things around the house to kind of piece together a costume. I only remember one costume ever in my childhood that was like a store-bought real costume, and that was definitely the year that my grandma was in town a few weeks before and like took us to Toys R Us and bought us costumes. I think I was Princess Jasmine that year from Aladdin, but of course like had to have my stomach covered because, you know, when you're 9 and it's the end of October, like who needs to be walking around with their midriff out? But yeah, so we always dressed up. We always did trick-or-treating. I've talked before about the neighborhood that I grew up in as a kid was not a cul-de-sac, but cul-de-sac type kind of enclosed little neighborhood. And, you know, every third house was a family with kids my age. So very busy place on Halloween. Tons of people trick-or-treating, lots of candy, everybody out doing stuff. And we also had traditional foods. Like my mom always made, I don't know if anybody else does these. I've never heard of them from anyone else. We called them dough gobs. It was basically just deep fried dough, and my mom would make like green frosting to put on them. And those are like a Halloween special that we never made any other time. And what else? When I was a kid, my parents they would be like, "Oh, it's Halloween," and they would just go to, Hollywood Video or Blockbuster and grab a few scary movies that they had not seen and knew nothing about, and be like, "Here you go, kids, entertain yourselves tonight." So after we would go trick or treating, they'd just, I don't even know where they went. They'd just like go and chill, and we'd put on a scary movie that none of us had seen before, having no idea what was on it, and just watch some scary movies for a few hours, which seemed like, oh, this is fun and spooky. Ended up not being fun, though. After like the third or fourth year of this, I was like, you know what? Every time I watch these, I need a palate cleanser before I go to bed. And I end up having to like stay up late to watch The Lion King. So
that does trigger a memory for me.
Really?
It was either 7th or 8th grade, but we watched Children of the Corn.
Oh, I watched that as I was
one.
older than 7 or I was probably 8th or 9th grade. Yeah, okay.
Definitely should not have watched it.
Yeah, living in Kansas, bold move watching Children of the Corn. So do you remember you were scared? Like that was a scary movie for you when you watched it?
I mean, I don't really remember being scared. I just remember not liking the movie.
Okay. You want to hear a bit
But maybe that's because I was scared.
Do you want some Children of the Corn trivia from my viewing when I watched it? You will be so proud. I think you'll be very impressed. So I've watched it one time, probably 8th or 9th grade. And when I watched it, there was a scene when there was just like, all I remember going on in the scene is a car pulls up. So you've got this shot of a vehicle from the side. You can see the camera crew in the reflection of the car in that shot, in like the window or the side of the car.
Makes sense.
I remember being like, go back. And that for me broke the fourth wall enough that it softened the scariness, because I was like, this is just a movie. I broke the magic, which is good.
Oh, it's a Stephen King story.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Right around that age is when I think I realized and accepted the fact about myself that I don't like scary movies. I don't like to be scared. This is just a thing. And I know that you can build up a tolerance. I don't want to. I remember every scary visual I've ever seen. I have nightmares for years based on nothing. I don't watch scary movies anymore. So, not going to happen.
So it was 1984.
The movie.
Had Linda Hamilton in it, which...
I don't know who that is.
She was in the Terminator movies, Yeah. The first Terminator movie came out the same year. 1984.
Busy year for Linda Hamilton.
I guess so. Oh, it doesn't have a budget. The box office for Children of the Corn was only $14 million. 1984, so you got to do a little bit of adjustment for inflation, but not a blockbuster.
Okay.
39% on Rotten Tomatoes.
There you go. But yeah, so that was most of it. I mean, we had general fall traditions too. We always carved pumpkins. I remember there being a couple years where maybe it was rainy and less trick-or-treat friendly weather, so we just did stuff inside, and my parents would set up, like fun little things in the house to do. We had like bobbing for apples one time, and little kids, we thought that was amazing. And my parents always, I think they were frugal, and they found ways to make it fun that didn't necessarily involve us spending a lot on decorations or, spending a lot on costumes, any of that. But it was always a good time growing up. We didn't do, though, I do remember, we never talked about like, this is a demonic holiday. But my parents would not allow us, like there were certain things that we weren't allowed to dress up as. We weren't allowed to be the devil. We weren't allowed to dress up as witches. Anything dark or connected to Satanism or witchcraft was not allowed. But other than that, Halloween was pretty much a free-for-all for us growing up.
Okay. So then what about our children?
I would say...
More specifically, what are you doing with our children?
What am I doing? I think I have carried over in my learning about myself that I don't do well with scary things, I have carried that into parenting and just not put scary things in front of them. I mean, that has affected a lot of just like what I let them watch anyway. We're pretty intentional about what shows and movies we let them watch, but little kids are prone to nightmares too. So even, I don't know, like the other day, I bought something from someone on Marketplace. She makes these little pieces of decoration. Anyway, she threw in a bunch of like little Halloween decorations too. And there was like a little ghost and a little skull and a little brain. And the boys thought those were cool. And I was like, yeah, we're not really going to keep these. We'll give them to a friend. And they were like, why can't we keep them? I was like, these don't match our house. And also these are like kind of, spooky type. They weren't like scary or gory or anything, but I was like, these are like spooky Halloween decorations and we don't really do spooky stuff. And they were like, why not? And I was like, because you guys have nightmares and I'm sick of going into your room at 4 a.m. every day trying to convince you that there's not claws in your bed trying to get you. That one's fresh. That's from this morning at 6. But yeah, so specifically, like I've been very intentional. Like we've been doing Halloween with them. They dress up. We take them trick-or-treating. But we haven't done anything remotely spooky, like no ghosts, no witches, none of that. Partially because I just don't really feel like explaining to them, like, what is a witch? What is witchcraft? What is a ghost? We talk about death pretty regularly, but I just don't really feel like digging into anything that feels a little bit more dark, even if it's just, for a lot of people, they're like, oh, it's just silly. It's pretend, it's Halloween. For me, those are bigger conversations that I have to have with my kids that I am not prepared to have at this time. So it's easier to just not go there than it is to be like, we don't believe in ghosts, but it's fun to pretend this one day a year. So
I'm on board for as little as possible. Although I'm completely in favor of the dad tax on candy.
100%. We've done that. Yeah. Like, if we got to pay for your costumes and take you around, like, sorry, we get first dibs on the candy, which is silly because we could just go buy it. But I don't know. They're on the practical side, we have to for Torrance trick-or-treat stuff because he can't have peanuts, and that's in all the good candy. Mm-hmm. So just
not all the good candy, but a lot of it.
What good candy doesn't have peanuts in it?
There's lots of chocolate stuff that doesn't have peanuts.
Name one.
M&Ms?
I don't think those are good, except for the peanut ones and the peanut butter ones.
Nope.
M&Ms are awful.
Peanut M&Ms are terrible.
No, they're delicious.
Plain M&Ms are great. Peanut butter is the best.
False. Peanut butter is good.
But peanut is not good. Peanut is not good.
It's delicious. It's crunchy. It hits the spot.
No. It ruins.
I will say Twix does not have peanuts, and I do enjoy a good Twix.
Nestle's Crunch.
Yep. Awful. Terrible.
Okay.
Who puts rice in their candy?
Crisped rice.
Yeah, it's terrible. Not a fan. Yeah, for me, it's like Reese's, Snickers, Twix are fine.
Reese's good. Snickers, no.
You don't like Snickers?
No, you know this.
I blocked this from my memory because it's so upsetting. Who are you? Who doesn't like... Why don't you like Snickers?
Because I don't like peanuts. I don't like eating peanuts.
But you like peanut butter.
Yeah.
Huh.
But I don't like eating peanuts.
Wow. Okay. So no Texas Roadhouse for you, probably.
I mean, I go there. I don't eat the peanuts.
That's fair.